Hello everybody, it's me Colton Johnson with Empty Popcorn Bucket Productions. I just want to wish you all Happy New Year, and in honor of the new year, I wanted to talk about my top favorite / best movies of 2024. These are all my opinion, based on reevaluation and rewatches, and looking back to some of these movies is how I created my list. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And stay tuned for the end, where I have an announcement as well as talking about the future of 2025. So I hope you enjoy, and now let's begin. For my number 10 spot on my list, we have Transformers 1. And if you know me and or have seen the review that I created for this movie, you know that I love Transformers. Transformers is one of my guilty pleasure franchises, and I personally thought that this was a phenomenal movie. It hit all the right beats. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Prince of Egypt, which another movie that came out this year similarly gave me the same vibes. But this movie not only was beautiful, but the score was amazing, the animation was amazing, and the story was just incredible. I'm excited to see what else is in store for any animated Transformers movie. It's kind of interesting to look at it in the perspective of when they did the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and all those movies. I was a little bit skeptical of those movies, and they turned out to be masterpieces, and I feel like that same love goes towards Transformers 1. This film, directed by Josh Cooley, and it stars Chris Hemsworth, among many others, and it's just honestly a grand time. So if you haven't checked that out, it's a phenomenal movie, and also go check out my review. Now, next on our list is Nosferatu, or Nosferatu. I can't remember the correct pronunciation, directed by Robert Eggers. This is actually one of the more recent movies that I actually have seen. It is one of those movies that it kind of has that slow burn gothic time period feel with the horror vibe, and it follows that classic story of Dracula with a twist, and is a remake of a 1922 horror film. This movie has stuck with me. I still think about it, and I almost saw it a week ago. But I definitely recommend this movie. It is phenomenal, and that's why it made it in my top 10 list. Next up, we have My Old Ass, directed by Megan Park. This is a movie that I've been meaning to check out since it came out back in, I believe, October, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But someone mentioned it had something to do with time travel, and it's a coming-of-age story, and it has Aubrey Plaza, so I felt like it was important to check out, and it easily climbed up into my top 10 list, and honestly, one of the best movies of the 2020s so far. This movie stars Aubrey Plaza and Maisie Stella, and it's a coming-of-age movie, but sort of with a twist where Aubrey Plaza is the older version of this character, and the younger character, for her 18th birthday, has a mushroom trip and sees her future self, goes on this life change throughout the film, and is honestly just such a great time. I laughed so hard, and I even teared up towards the end. So if you love movies that will just make you feel good, go check out this movie. Next up on my list is something that felt so fresh, and it was a movie that I was looking forward to. I love Ryan Gosling, and that is The Fall Guy, directed by David Leitch. This movie was fantastic. It hit all the right beats. Emily Blunt is also fantastic in this movie. Though I thought it was a tad bit predictable, I overglanced that because of how visually stunning it was. The sets were great. The stunts in the film were great. And it pays homage to just stunt acting in general, and I just really appreciated this movie a lot, and I definitely recommend everyone to check it out. Next, we have Twisters, which I also have a review here on the channel of. I loved Twisters, and I honestly think it's better than its predecessor. It stars Glenn Powell, which he's a good-looking guy, and he's very much an up-and-coming actor. He actually starred in another movie that I would have included in the list, but on a technical sense, it did release in 2023, and that was Hitman. But he stars in this film with Anthony Ramos, and it's directed by Lee Isaac Chung. This movie was fantastic. The music was great. The visuals were great. And honestly, it just was a grand time. And I wish I got to experience it multiple times in theaters. Next up on my list was something that it spoke to me in a way that usually there's a movie each year that speaks to me, and this is the movie that spoke to me. And that was Saturday Night, directed by Jason Reitman, or Reitman, I don't know how to pronounce it. And it is the 90 minutes leading up to the first taping of Saturday Night Live and the hijinks that ensue in preparation of this event in history. Saturday Night Live is one of my favorite shows. I love watching some of the old classic Saturday Night Live, and this gives you that feel as well as some accurate portrayals of some of these iconic people. I felt like this movie was well written. The star of the movie, I can't think of his full name right now. He was also in Fabelmans and another movie that I've yet to check out this year called Snack Shack. But he does a phenomenal job, and I just very much enjoyed this movie. Go check it out if you haven't. And yeah, next up is Deadpool and Wolverine. We're in the top 4 of the year now. Deadpool and Wolverine, directed by Sean Levy. Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman team up on this multiverse journey, and it is freaking hilarious. And just, there's a lot of heartfelt moments. It does it in the correct way. I was actually a tad bit nervous that it was just gonna be nostalgia bait, but though it does evoke nostalgia with paying homage to the X-Men from the 2000s, it does in a way that is a perfect tribute as well as like a completion of that universe. But it also introduces Deadpool into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as Wolverine, which Wolverine's one of my favorite characters. And so I had a really good time with this movie, and in IMAX it made me love it even more. And there's some character moments in this movie that were just fantastic. So if you haven't yet, go check it out. Highly recommend. Now, we're in my top 3 with The Wild Robot, which when I say top 3, this one and my next one are pretty tied. Like, I had to try to switch them every once in a while, whatever. But The Wild Robot is directed by Chris Sanders, who also did How to Train Your Dragon and Lilo and Stitch. This movie made me cry like a baby, as well as just being visually stunning. The music's great, the story's great, and it just packs it all in. And it's honestly one of DreamWorks' strongest, if not the strongest, since Shrek or How to Train Your Dragon. And I personally enjoy it more than How to Train Your Dragon. It's an emotional story, and I even had my wife watch it with me, and she loved it. If there's any movie that if you haven't watched yet, this is the movie. I encourage everyone to sit down and find the time to watch this movie, because it is a powerful message, and it's just one of the best movies of the year. Next up is Wicked Part 1. I don't know if that is the title now that the sequel is going to be called Wicked for Good, which I will do a video of my most anticipated movies of the year, probably in a week or two. But directed by John M. Chu, who's also directed In the Heights as well as Crazy Rich Asians. He treated this adaptation so beautifully. I had high expectations going in, and it exceeded those expectations immensely. It is beautiful. The music's beautiful. Cynthia Erivo does great. Ariana Grande does great. Jonathan Bailey. It's just this beautiful film and musical, and honestly one of the best musical adaptations ever, in my opinion. I mean, you can debate, there's amongst the classics or even modern classics, but this one is definitely up there. It's visually stunning, and I am beyond excited for Wicked for Good, which releases this year. Now we're going to talk about my honorable mention. I was going to bring up another honorable mention, but for the length of the video, and you don't want me to ramble on for 10 years, because there was a lot of great movies that came out this year. But my honorable mention is Alien Romulus. This movie was freaking fantastic. As someone who was relatively new to the Alien franchise, and I watched most of the movies before, this is honestly one of the best. And I think the best since the 1980s Aliens and the 70s. I'm not gonna throw a date out if I don't know it. But the original Alien, it evokes the same horror elements as the original, but also has so much heart to it and some fantastic performances. This is another one that after watching the trailer, I felt a little skeptical because I just felt like it was going to be too childish, but I was wrong, and it was wonderful, and the performances were great. So if you haven't checked this one out, I highly recommend it as well. I also have a review on my channel of this movie. And then next up is the best movie and my favorite movie of 2025, or 2024, sorry, my bad, which is Dune Part 2. I loved Dune Part 1, and though it was a little bit slower, and it almost felt like a 2-hour and 40-minute trailer, Dune Part 2 does all the right things to be a sequel, plus some. Timothée Chalamet's performance was beyond anything I've seen him in before, and I mean, it's been a while since I've actually rewatched it, but it's one of those that, like, from the moment that I saw it, I was like, this is already going to be the best movie of the year. Though there's a few movies that I hadn't watched this year, this movie stands out as being the greatest of the year, not only from its visual spectacle, but from the acting, from the score, from Hans Zimmer, and it just made me excited to be an audience member in a movie. I do wish I got to experience this on IMAX, and I hope that eventually it gets re-released on IMAX so I can experience it in IMAX. But this movie, it is better than the predecessor, which if a sequel does that, then that's great. I just absolutely loved it. I need to revisit it soon and actually do a review. One of my buddies keeps asking me about it, and I'll do it. It'll eventually happen. But yeah, that is my number one for my list. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoy this fantastic journey that we've been on to talk about movies. I really do appreciate everyone who has helped me hit goals that I've made, and the goal that I have for 2025. I would love if I could at least hit 250. I'm at 175 right now, so that's only 75. But if I go beyond that, then great. But thank you so much for watching. I also have a few projects in mind. So I'm doing a project where I go through each phase of the MCU, and it's gonna probably take me a while, but I'm first just starting with phase 1 because that's the easiest one to get through. I'm gonna do a review for each one in one video, sort of like what I did with my Disney remakes ranked, and so that will be out probably by the end of the month. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Go check out my other videos, and go check out my Letterboxd account. My username is Colton McKay 99. I'll show it in the video, but that's where I log each movie that I see and share my thoughts on each one. So go check that out if you want to see my progress on my MCU watch. I will start posting on my other channel, Disney Johnson Bros. We'll be getting a podcast episode out pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. And please let me know in the comments what your favorite movie of 2024 was, as well as what's your most anticipated movie of 2025. In a few weeks, I'll throw out that video where I talk about mine. So stay tuned and have a wonderful day. Bye.